All right, so I think we'll get going. There's a few people who are just signing in, so I'll start with the roll call and the intro and whatnot. So welcome to the Web Exchange on Innovative Ideas. My name's Jonathan. I work at Military Family Services, and we set up this Web Exchange basically to provide a forum for you guys to be able to share some of the great ideas that you have at the local level on various topics. And today's topic is serving specialized populations. It originally was supposed to include Meaford, but Meaford wasn't able to make it today. But she did actually, Cindy, the ED at Meaford, did send along one of the resources that they use. I just wanted to read out a quote for you. One of the things that we do to reach out to reservist families, one of the populations we're talking about today, is that we attend grad parades during the RST and distribute bags to families that have been designed to inform families of what's available to them. The bag contents are not MFRC Meaford specific. Rather, we put information in there about MFRCs, CFMWS, CISIP, etc. I've attached the letter that's included. So I've just put that as an extra tab at the top here under Meaford. You can see that letter at your leisure there. But just before we head into the presentations, I wanted to do a quick roll call to make sure that I've got my attendance list is up to date. So the people that I currently have, and please let me know if I'm missing anyone. I've got May in Comox, Peggy in Gander, Tracy in Mainland. We've got Dean here from Military Family Services, as well as Lisa, and you've got I guess with you as well from Moose Jaw, Diane in North Bay, Lynn in PEI, Natasha in Petawawa, Elaine in Suffield, Rose in Yellowknife, and then we also have, I believe, a call-in user. I'm not sure who that is.
That would be me, Danny from Valcartier.
Okay, excellent. Bienvenue. Okay.
Merci.
Okay, fantastic. And we've got Kim Osmond. Whereabouts are you calling from, Kim?
Borden.
Okay, fantastic. So, and let's see if I've missed anyone else. Lynn Milligan. Yes, I did mention you.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone else who's on the phone on text?
Linda McCauley in North Bay.
Linda McCauley. All right. Super. Great. Okay. Thanks very much. So now I'm going to turn it over to Peggy, who's going to start off talking about what Gander does in terms of serving specialized populations. Over to you, Peggy.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for inviting us to be part of this, and hopefully you'll pick up a few little things from what we say we do. So I've broke it down into the three groups, just to keep it clear in my head. So with the Ranger Patrol groups, I would have suggested that you bring Rangers into your MFRC. And I just mentioned our board chair is a spouse of reservists who works with the Rangers, and we have a Red Force captain sitting on our board. And it really helps bring a perspective from Rangers to the board table and into the discussion, and then of course they can get to know our organization as well. Great networks with their chain of command is really important, as I'm sure you all know. So they have ensured that all people coming into bus RPG clear in through the MFRC, so we get a chance to tell them what we have, the people that we're working here in Gander. And we're invited to their ARB. And there's so many of them. We have 19 patrols in Newfoundland on the island, and there are more in Labrador, 900 plus Rangers. So we do receive all the nominal roles from all the Ranger Patrol groups, and we do receive their patrol training days and locations. Because they're spread out over such a huge area in Newfoundland, and we're used to that. We do outreach, but so we thought we would sort of do what we did with the outreach, and we tried to piggyback that, but it wasn't working. So we sort of had to go back to the drawing table, and so now we're invited to their patrol training events, and we're put on their agenda. They provide us with their training schedule, and we plan our outreach trips around their schedule. And we find that working much better in terms of getting the information out to the rangers. And someone mentioned info packages, and we do leave info packages with the members when we present to them. But we, like they said, we just don't leave information about ourselves. We leave information about lots of things that they had no idea that they were entitled to. SISUP is a big one, and the SISUP rep here has gone on a number of road trips with us. So that's marvelous to have another person to speak about what they can offer rangers. SIFMAP, a lot of our rangers are in very isolated communities with few resources. So SIFMAP has been a great resource, and we know that some people are using it. Access to support our troops funds, and we have secured funding for rangers, so we know that's possible. Strongest families, again, working in isolated communities with few resources, the CF1 card. A couple services at the center that we highlight for them is the fact that they can speak to a social worker. There's a social worker on staff here, and a lot of times she can be a liaison with resources in their own community. Employment assistance, we can do that over the phone, and the emergency and respite child care, because rangers can be deployed too. Actually, Op Nanook is going on now up in Goose Bay, and we have rangers deployed there. So they are entitled to services. Of course, I can't do normally what I would do in Gander, so we have to be a little bit creative and think out of the box with that one. And we have an emergency RHU here at the base, and rangers are welcome to use that. And Gander is a bit of a center place for medical appointments and stuff. So when they come in, they have to come into the center and get the keys, and we get a chance to have our little blurb. I just want to mention just a little special mention about the junior rangers. A lot of the instructors from here work with junior rangers, isolated communities. A lot of times they look to as resources for looking for solutions, and young people disclosing things to them. So they need some support too. So we're always, as I mentioned, to the junior rangers instructors, SIFMAP, and we have a social worker and so on and so forth, strongest families, so they can have it in their toolbox. When it comes to the search and rescue world, they certainly have a unique role in the military, and they are a very close bunch. They certainly rely on each other. But I've found over the years that the key person that you have to sort of have a good feel for what we can do is the section warrant officer. And with regards to having emergency numbers that they can reach after hours, emergency funding, any capabilities they have, it's really important that the SWO know what they are. That's usually the person I find that reaches out and touches me when something comes up. And we removed all obstacles to using respite child care for the search and rescue community. There's no how long they're gone. There's none of that stuff. We try to, and they do use it a lot. Very no schedule, come and go, gone for an hour flying, gone for 2 weeks. So we try to keep obstacles out of it at all times so that they can use our respite child care and get the support they need. Again, strategically recruit for your board, and we've certainly done that. Be a good partner, and I'm sure all MFRCs are, and take this opportunity, but I'll just mention one thing that was a bit different for us to do. The commander wanted to do a trip into the Janeway Children's Hospital in St. John's, and he didn't have a clue what to do for gifts for children. So, of course, a lot of times that comes up, you know, okay, call the MFRC, they'll know what to do. But we tried to be a good partner. They collected money on their end from their people to buy this stuff. We collected money on our end and threw in some more. And just, I guess, take full advantage of every opportunity. And I talked to the commanding officer over the years, and we found it really important that our staff, because a lot of us don't have a clue what search and rescue does, and we're so unique, and just gives us an insight into what they do to help them understand the work and support them. So all of our staff now spend a day flying with 103 Search and Rescue Squadron when they're doing some training, so they sort of do get some type of feel for what life is like with 103. When it comes to serving reservists, I sort of had to think about this one because we've been doing it so long, and I sort of feel like we don't do anything different than we do for everyone else, but there are some differences. We support mainly 3 lots of reservists. The 91 construction engineer flight, they're constantly deployed. We just got a picture this week of a crowd that are over in Latvia, and they are constantly deploying. They're very much on the move at all times. Their families live all around us, not just in Gander, but all around us. So that's their sort of unique thing they do. The Air Reserve flight, and I've heard this from the Wing Commander Chief so many times, we have apparently a higher percentage of our wing strength are reservists than many other bases. They rely on them. The cuts in the funding have been really hard on that reserve component. But with regard to supporting them, they're around the wing all the time, so I guess we support them like everyone else, but we do know that's a struggle that that particular group is going through right now, so we try to be cognizant of that. And then we have the 2nd Battalion Royal Newfoundland Regiment. We have a satellite office in Corner Brook where B Company is, and so they take care of A and B Company, and we take care of C Company in Grand Falls, just down the road from us. We are housed in the armories from the regiment, so we've developed quite a close working relationship. Those guys, they can deploy, and they lost people in Afghanistan, so we've been with them through all that. But also, right now, they're gone away mostly in the summertime doing their training, so that's a bit different for us as well. So Nadia over in Corner Brook keeps that going for us. Keeping in contact with those guys and keeping them included is really important, I find. They really need to, you need to keep in contact with them, let them know what's going on, anything new. Nadia always makes sure that she's present on their parade nights and that she's available to answer any questions that they might have, and we found that that's been quite useful. Warm line calls to, we find this group of people are really important, really help them feel that they're part of our military community. And just like the Rangers, I just want to mention again, and with the reservists that are in some remoter places in our province, it's really important to get to know the resources in the community, to be a partner with, them to help them serve our families, but also be a support for the work that they do hands-on with our families, whether that's providing some funding or providing some social work in particular on explaining the military lifestyle and that sort of stuff. But it's really important to get to know the community. When we go into any community, we also make sure that we go into whatever they have there, whether it's a nurse practitioner or sometimes it's just a town hall or the school or somebody to leave things behind that if they ever should need it, that they know that they can reach out, at least find a number and reach out and touch us, and we'll deal with whatever it is that they would like to know. So that is the only other thing I'm going to mention, and then I'll pass it over, is that we send out to all units on the base every month a request for the deployment stats, and we make it very clear, and we've been doing it so long, I think it's understood now that deployment to us is any time the member's away from their home unit, not necessarily an overseas deployment, taskings, courses, whatever, search and rescue out on a mission, whenever they're away from their home unit. And the chain of command is really backs us up on this. If people don't get their stats in time, I got someone to call. So that's really important, because I always say to the chain, I can't support your people if I don't know when they're gone and where they are. So we find that that's really important and help us do our job. And I think that covers what I had there on the slide.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks very much, Heidi. That's excellent. Whole lot of info in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we'll move on to Tracy in Mainland.
Okay. Actually, Peggy, I had a question for you too. Well, I'm just waiting for my camera here. When you're getting the stats, what kind of stats are you getting? And are these stats that are happening after the fact, or are you actually getting these things in advance?
With regards to the stats when they're away, they're mostly in advance. Now, once when the guys are sent away on a mission, they usually phone and tell us that.
Okay.
So if they're away for a longer period of time than expected, we'll get a call saying, heads up, we've got some members that are away longer than we expected, just in case there's some needs from the family.
Okay. Because what we find here is that oftentimes we get they're getting better at giving us stats, but they are giving us either after the person is already gone, and sometimes it's not really, then there's not much time for us to get in touch with them, or we'll just get a message about, okay, this person is away, but we don't, like from this unit, this person is away, but that's all they give us. So we don't necessarily have the person's name, their information, so we're working on that. So it sounds like you guys have done a good job with that. So.
Yeah, we've been doing it for quite some time, and thankfully, but I have found out several times that the chain of command is not in support of it, you're sort of dead in the water. They really have to push this from the top down, that this is really important, if you know, for all of us to do our jobs properly.
Okay, well, it's good to know. Okay, I will get started. Jonathan, you have, actually, that's the last one I need. I need the one that says, keep going, and one more. Or maybe there wasn't a first one. I wanted one that just said, see them, go to them, and speak to them, but that's fine. So I really appreciated what Peggy had to say, because we are just starting to work with the Rangers, so it's really nice to get a sense of what somebody else is doing with them. Our work is mostly with reservists, so that's kind of where we're looking at right now. So the information that I'm sharing is more or less information that that I've learned, and a lot of you may already have this in mind, but maybe a few different ideas as to how you can do this. So the first one then, so Jonathan, now the slide I will take is that one about the, I think it says Cultus Lake. Thank you. So the first one is just that I had there is to see them, as in to see the reservists. So a couple of things here. One of the things we've realized is there are not a lot of good images out there for the type of reservists we have, which often we found they are single members still living at home. So they're often young men, somewhat young women, but a lot of them are single and living at home. So for one, we don't have a lot of images of them. So we're working on that, trying to get some images to reflect them in the promotional materials that we do. With their families or with their siblings or whatever, a little bit different. One of the reasons I chose to put this up as one of my visual aids, this was just something we did in the summer, and we suddenly realized that because a lot of our reservists are single members, as soon as we put something about a family activity, they immediately close down because they're assuming that it's an activity for mom, dad, and 2 little kids or something. So we have consciously taken out and this is not quite the whole poster, but we have consciously taken out the word family in some of our activities, because we find if we do that, it perks up their interest a bit, because they think that it might be something that they can attend. And we are making our qualification, for lack of a better word, for those people that can go. For somebody who's single, we're really broad on who that is that they might bring with them, because I know as a single person and as a one-person family, if I'm not going to something half the time if I have to go on my own, but yet who am I going to take? It might just be a friend, it might be somebody else, it might be a cousin, it might be whatever. But so we're opening that up a little bit, making them feel welcome as single members and not feeling like they're going to be interlopers in some big family thing where they're going to feel out of place. The next one I have, so the first one is see them, the next one is go to them. So that's my map, Jonathan. So I just laid out, so for one thing, our reservists are spread out a lot. So we are, that's kind of our, some of the areas that we have people. So Prince George, Kamloops, Kelowna, Trail, and then I've also put Langley in there, which is in Metro Vancouver. So we're trying to get out to see them more. We're trying to actually go to them, and this kind of fall is probably going to be one of the biggest travel budgets we've ever had. Because as you can see from the distances, it's not just hopping in your car and driving a bit. We actually have to fly in to see them. So we haven't done a lot of that in the past, and we've made a real concerted effort to do it. this time because they are feeling very disconnected. So we realized we have to get out more to see them and we have to be there more to visit with them. So one of the things that we've done, and this is why in particular I highlighted these communities, is we've started partnering with the WHL, which is Western Hockey League teams. And in the case of Trail, they're not WHL, I forget which league they are. It'll come to me in a minute, doesn't matter. But we've started teaming up with the hockey teams there. We found that, because in some of these cases with the reservists, we were providing some funding for them to have family activities, and they were kind of tagging that on to one of their existing activities, kind of supplementing that. They weren't really aware that some of that was being sponsored by the MFRC. So we found when we started in Langley, is the first place we started, which is why I've got that there. When we started doing these partnerships with the teams, they were very supportive, very anxious to help us. Our costs, because they would give us not always free, but very discounted tickets, our cost for helping or getting families to the game was actually less expensive than most of the events we were putting on. It also gave us a double whammy because not only then are we reaching out and connecting with the families, because we would also set up a table and they would come and see us, we would be connecting with a lot of people in the general population who didn't know anything about us, didn't know anything about military families. And it was amazing how many people that came up to us when we were at these activities that would say, oh, I've got a nephew, or I've got a grandson, or and we would say, well, we're your organization. We want you to be part of our organization, to be aware of what we're doing. So again, the reason we chose this is because the minor league hockey teams are much more family-oriented. Whether you are a single member, like in Prince George, tons of single members up there, and the Prince George Cougars are very popular, so it's going to be something that's going to resonate with them. So whether you're single, whether you have kids, whether these teams also tend to draw out a lot of older retired people too, so it's a really good venue so far. We've been doing it this will be our third year in the Vancouver area in Langley, and this will be our first year in these other communities this year that we're doing that. And then my last slide, I have Speak to Them, and it's kind of a boring slide, but it was just a reminder to me about something that I've been working on here. So one of the things that I learned very quickly was make sure that I don't discount the challenges of the reservists. So part of that was, especially around the time that they spend apart, or kind of those work-related separations that they have. So although they may not be deployed in the typical sense of being deployed as much as others, the fact that they're gone, you know, that one evening a week, that time over the summer, when normally families are expecting to have the availability of their spouse or their partner or even their son or daughter at home, they're not there. So it definitely puts a strain and a stress on them. So recognizing those strains and stresses they have and not discounting them. And then this is actually a page from, we and the mainland MFRC, a number of years ago before I started, we did a handbook for reservists. It had been on the MFS website, and Jonathan, I'm going to talk to somebody about whether or not they want to continue having that there. This is a page of a new one that we've done. And part of the reason we did that is because I had some funding, not from MFS, from a gaming grant that was earmarked for this, especially in terms of getting some printed. So, and when I looked at it, I realized the existing handbook, it was a really good handbook, but in my opinion, there was too much information there. It went through a lot of kind of emotional first aid in terms of if your reservist is away, this will happen, that will happen. So I really streamlined it a lot, and I worked with a number of people saying, okay, when you as a military reservist spouse first came in, what are some of the things you wanted to know about? And it was kind of like, okay, I didn't understand the rank structure. I didn't know what I was supposed to do if I went to a mess dinner. I didn't know who I should call or could call if I needed to find out information. So I really streamlined it. One of the things that I did, and again, this goes to that idea of speaking to the reservists, I even looked at it, like we have a comparison in the handbook here at one part where it compares some of the things to the reg force and some of the things to the reserve force. Typically, as I just did right now, we put reg force first. So in everything that we did here, I tried to put reserve force first. So again, they would feel that this was for them. And it's definitely for the family, because that was one of the things I found with the other handbook, was that it was, I couldn't tell sometimes if it was geared towards the member, if it was geared towards a commanding officer, or if it was geared towards the family. So we really tried with this one to make it very clear this was for the family, and that, you know, it just in the language it uses. So again, taking that opportunity to speak directly to that particular audience, I'm hoping will help. This, and the reason I'm saying I'm hoping is because I've just seen the print proofs for these yesterday, so they will be, I will have some copies very soon. One of the things that I did do when I designed it as well, I designed it in such a way that the front cover, like I can send it in 2 different files if anybody else is interested in it. So the front cover can be designed separately for any MFRC, and then you could put your own contact information on it. So there's nothing on the front cover that's specific to us or anything like that. It's just something that you could take and do your own, because I find sometimes there are so many good resources out there that other MFRCs produce, but they are somewhat confusing if I use them, because they are very much have the contact information for the local MFRC. So that was just one of the things I did in the design of this. So hopefully, if others are interested in using it, it will be easy for them to use. The last thing I was just going to mention really quickly, and it made me think of, Peggy, when you were talking about the search and rescue. Again, I'm not aware of search and rescue personnel here, but one thing I have done, and I'm just going to see how it goes this fall, and I'll let you know if it works okay. We've done an emergency preparedness, not even a full course. What we did, there's a lot of emergency preparedness courses that are offered in Metro Vancouver. We're very paranoid about earthquakes out here, so there's always courses that you can sign up in the communities. Some of the members that live on the base here, at one point they wanted one, and so we offered one for them. We got someone to come in and deliver it. But I recognized there was a certain module that could be added to that that would make it more applicable to military families, that being, they need to prepare to be apart during emergencies, whereas other families, their whole goal is to come together. So we designed with my Flo and one of my former staff members who was a special needs educator, we designed a little module that could be dropped into an existing program that would then make it more applicable to military families. So I'm going to be offering the first ones this fall in Kelowna and Vernon. And the other thing that I'm doing with them is, and the reason I mention this in the context of the search and rescue, because we have small pockets of military, when we do a workshop, it's really hard to get a big number out. So I'm also opening it to families of first responders. So again, it's not MSF funds that I'm using, because I have gaming money to do that, but it just allows me to open it to a slightly broader audience, get more people there, and hopefully for some of the reservists who are in these smaller communities, not a lot of military families, but it also gives them an opportunity to maybe to connect with a few first responder families as well, who may have a few similar challenges to what they have. So again, that's something in the offing. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but I will let you know if it is something that has worked and might be feasible, because again, the little 15-minute module that we have could be dropped in really easily to anything that's existing that you might have in your communities too. So I think that's about it.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much, Tracy. And I would like to keep these things on time, because I know that you guys are often squeezing this in between other things during the day. So, so we'll end here, but just know that this is been recorded, so it will be up on the website within the next few days, so that those people who weren't able to attend are able to take advantage of some of the resources. I also upload the resources that were referred to, as well as the PowerPoints up to the website in the usual location. You'll be receiving an email as to what that usual location is, just in case you haven't received it thus far. And you'll also be receiving an email about what the next theme is next month. So thanks very much to everyone, especially thanks to Tracy and Peggy for all the work that they put into showing their great ideas about serving specialized populations. And we hope to see you next month.
Thanks, Jonathan.
See you all.